The warehouse is open. Volume 67, Tales from the Warehouse. It's an NBA primer for this MeiGray season upcoming. We'll catch up with our friend Mike LeBoeuf, program associate for the National Basketball Association under the MeiGray umbrella. He also does so much more, including authentication. Mike, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing very well. All right, so I always ask let's play a little catch up. How was the summer? What you've been doing with yourself? Last time we saw you, it was literally a year ago, episode number 55, volume 55, as we got folks ready with what was, on the floor and coming up to speed. And with regard to the pending NBA season, aside from the NBA stuff, what you've been doing and how do you get ready for the busy part, the busy season, as it were?
Oh, summer was good. A little slow. Had some fun working with WNBA partner too, and getting familiar with that and kind of building that out a little bit here, which was fun, which was different. It was kind of a different vibe this summer here. It kept busy throughout, and we're just ready to get the season going. I've got my schedules ready. Just filling out those and trying to get a jersey schedule. The NBA publishes a jersey schedule through their Locker Vision program, and building out sort of a population report of when different teams are wearing different styles and how we can maybe map some of that out for our programs as well. And try to see, when can we expect to get some special jerseys?
There you go. When I was visiting with you last time, you gave me some very helpful hints to LBI, Long Beach Island in New Jersey. Family was up just to update because I know I've gotten thousands of cards, letters, and emails about the situation. Hey, was Mike spot on? Mike was spot on, and a good time was had by all. We brought up our 5. My in-laws, God bless them, they were up there, and my other in-laws came down from South Orange, New Jersey, with their family of 4. So we converged, and everybody was just it's a quintessential beach town as you described it, and just a super chill vibe. We were out on the bay or on the bay side or the inlet side. I forget, it's what they call it in Jersey or Florida or whatever. But we hung out on the inlet side beach, chill, went to the Atlantic side, and lots of great food. Just the people were really nice. Big fan of beach bars, beach music, and just, the music was great. I'm a sucker for, an ice cold beverage of varying styles, and 2 or 3 or 4 people or 5 or more people in a band just playing because they want to be happy. Like that's what LBI was all about. All right.
Absolutely.
So, but you said it was slow in a good way, right? Because this is now going to be an energy expending time of year for you, my man.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. The summer is a good time to play catch up and, work on catching up on inventory and reports and stuff like that. And, following along in the off season, trying to catch up with, roster changes and who we can expect to, see on our program teams and how we can market that efficiently going into the season.
All right, so grab a ball and just sort of give me a treetop view, an overview of the 25-26 MeiGray Gainmore programs for teams that include the Warriors and the LA Lakers.
Right. 2 very exciting teams, 2 teams that added a lot of, exciting veteran talent, some big names. Warriors added Al Horford from the Celtics, and the Lakers. This will be the first full year of the Luka Doncic experience with that team. So we can plan out a whole season of that. We were lucky enough to get some Luka product last year. That kind of came as a little bit of a surprise to us, a happy surprise. But we're ready to go, and it should be exciting. 2 teams that we expect could make a run and not only make the postseason, but once they get there, make a potential run to the finals.
You mentioned Luka. Obviously, LeBron's still very much in the mix, although, dealing with a bit of a health thing. Father Time is undefeated, sadly, but he'll be back and there will be jerseys. But you got Steph, you got Jimmy, you got Draymond, we got DeAndre Ayton. There's names. I mean, both teams have the excitement is deservedly real, Mike.
Absolutely. They're both in kind of a mode where you've got Steph and LeBron on, Warriors and Lakers respectively. And like you said, Father Time is undefeated. And I think these franchises realize that, and they are adding to the talent with other veterans, with other championship caliber players that they know the time is now. There's no rebuilding right now. There's no 2-3 years looking down the line. It's 25, 26. What can we do to maximize this window right now? And I think from a collector standpoint and from our standpoint, working with these two teams, these two programs, that's very exciting because as much as we understand the processes of rebuilding teams and retooling teams, these are teams that they're on the precipice of greatness. They could get there this season, and we're very excited to be a part of that.
It's an interesting trick, and while we're doing NBA today, it's the MeiGray NBA primer for the 25-26 season. As we talk to Mike LeBoeuf, NBA program associate, authenticator, fry cook, floor mopper, window dresser. He'll
Jack of
do
all trades.
exactly, and master of many, not master of none,
Yes.
master of many. I always like to throw a touch of hockey in. It's kind of like what the Washington Capitals were able to do last year and are hopefully continuing to do. Ovi will only be Ovi for a finite amount of time. And you keep the window open and you restock and you hope the young guys come up. And the Lakers and the Warriors are looking at, obviously, first ballot Hall of Famers, and these guys are living legends, and we should all enjoy and get a piece of the memorabilia pie if you are so inclined, for as long as you possibly can. That being said, these guys do command a certain dollar value, I am sure, and our NHL friends also find this in the MeiGray program at MeiGray.com. Just contact sales at MeiGray.com. There are lower priced, more affordable players in the program, and you're a big NBA guy. Yes, you're a Knicks guy, but you obviously, being a program associate, you have your eye on the league. And so you're looking, you go through the website regularly for work reasons and for personal reasons. And you're like, this guy's underrated or undervalued. There are a lot of guys in the program. Anybody come to mind that collectors should say, that's a player that I do like. And wow, I mean, actually, Mike, be quite honest, in the last 10 days, I was going through the NBA inventory and and ongoing auctions and just players and names that I know and am fond of. And there are a lot of things that fit the budget. I'm sure that you have some other recommendations.
Sure, yeah, on the lower end of the collector scale, but again, these are guys that with a good season on two premier franchises, the value could go up or down, hopefully up. For the Lakers, I like Jake LaRavia. He is a guy that they acquired from the Memphis Grizzlies this past season or off season. He's a good shooter. He's going to be a bench guy for them, but with these LeBron teams, especially with LeBron's absence in the start of the season, these are guys that can come in, have a couple, 15, 20-point performances and really make their name in the league. And LaRavia is not a household name. Memphis, not a huge market. Now coming to LA, and I think collectors can ride that notoriety wave with a guy like that. With the Golden State Warriors, the guy I like is Quentin Post, who is a second-year center. He was a second-round pick last year that they got out of Boston College. He was getting some good minutes down towards the end of the season, really making the good impression with the team. And now with Kevon Looney, their longtime center, gone, there's kind of a hole in that center spot. Now they did bring in Al Horford, but Father Time, how many games is he going to be available for? How many minutes is he going to be available for? Certainly not 82 full games. You have to expect. So Post is a guy who can fill in that center role and be a starter for a team like the Golden State Warriors. And this is a small name guy, so I think he's a guy that collectors can really hop on and see what happens.
When people think of MeiGray, whether it's NHL, whether it's NBA, whether it's WNBA, or the other partner leagues and partner teams and what have you, they think about the insurance of the authenticity. Take me through and talk to me a little bit about how you put us, the collector, at ease. That's mission one.
Absolutely. And, through our programs with various teams, especially our NBA programs, I'm up here working with our authentication staff. We wouldn't put anything out that we weren't we weren't 100% sure on on my ends. You have to cover your bases, photo matching, video matching. We get different ways of creative media to be able to, assure that as much as we trust our partners, and our partners, they're great with getting us the product. And, you know, we just want to be 100% sure. And we know that procuring stuff for MeiGray isn't necessarily the top of mind job title for these equipment staff.
Mhm.
They've got so much else going on. So we want to put our partners' ease in mind and put our, the consumers' ease with authentication. So we're doing everything that we can to really um, photo match, prove, and make sure everything that we put out on sale is 100% authentic.
Can you sort of walk me through the journey of collecting and tracking the jerseys from the NBA arena to the MeiGray facility and to Mike LeBoeuf's desk?
Sure. Well, particular games, particular performances, we really like to market big moments. We're able to reach out to our team partners pretty much right away, email, text, and be like, hey, player A,
Triple
historic
double.
performance,
Right.
milestone.
Sure.
Is there any chance that we could get this jersey for our program? We could bring big money for us, big money for you. Everybody wants to win on this. It's not just us making the profit off it; it's also our partners as well. So we really want to benefit and stress that to them, and get that in house. So they're pretty good about immediately overnighting that to
Sharing in the
us.
moment, they get it,
Right.
basically.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And then it comes to me, my desk. If I'm pretty much immediately on it. If it's something huge, getting that photo match done, and writing up the good copy and getting the LOA made and ready to go.
It- It's
It could
it's
be out the door the next day.
It's amazing that, and and you and I have discussed this before. You mentioned at the top of the pod that the jersey schedule's being worked out, but the
Mhm.
fact that you can fire them an email and say somebody had a triple double, somebody
Right.
went for 51.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that? And all of a sudden, it is available to the collector. And
Right.
the NBA, I mean, David Stern, God rest his soul, did such
Mhm.
a wonderful job with this, and Adam Silver's continuing. The NBA is almost beyond worldwide. Well, how many worlds are there, Scott, that have
Right.
NBA? But it's a worldwide game, and there are
Mhm.
collectors worldwide. The base, NHL, and again, credit to you guys and a credit to the NBA for willing to share in those key moments. I think that's really that speaks volumes. Yes, and I know there's cynics who are watching this and listening to us. Well, it's a money making venture, Scott. They're not going to be dumb. No, but you'd be surprised how many organizations withhold or don't want to share. The
Mhm.
NBA is like, here, get it out there. And the fact that it can get to you so quickly, be authenticated, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but a little bit more about that, but can be authenticated so quickly and turn to the collector right quick and in a hurry. That's a smooth working process, sir.
Yeah, that's absolutely a credit to the league and a credit to our partners as well, Lakers and Warriors. They got two terrific staffs, communication wise, and they get it. So it's lucky that we get such wonderful partners in that way.
Have you ever gotten an NBA jersey? I know you and I have talked about authenticating, and it is it's a labor, and you guys put in a lot of work, whether it's the holes, whether it's logo placement or patch placement or where the number sits,
Mhm.
or and you're the expert. I'm not going to put words in your mouth and lead the witness, but do the NBA items ever show up with NHL style wear? Obviously, Mike, they ain't playing with sticks. I know that, and there's no skate blade that's going to come and cut. But do you get the occasional rip or scuff across the NBA piece?
Very rarely. With these current NBA jerseys, they're very well made and maintained. Not that the hockey jerseys aren't well maintained, but they're not wearing them for a month, for months long stretches.
Sure.
And so you're getting these jerseys, sometimes just one gamers, two gamers, besides threads and placements of logos, you're not really getting anything too exciting like a like a true like a tear
Mhm.
or a scuff. I'll have customers, if there's ever a bloody nose incident or some Gatorade that shows up on a jersey, and then we get it. The customer buys it. It's totally clean. They're like, "Hey, where is this?" You have to be like, "Well, I mean, the washing machine exists for a reason.
Right.
This stuff comes out on, fortunately or unfortunately. I know some people, they like the wear and that off the court freshness, but you know, they also have to exist in a reality where yes, some of these jerseys are being reused and rewashed, and we can't necessarily get everything from the laundry basket as much as I would love to be there, picking it up off the floor. The realities of current procurement, it's not feasible.
Sure, of course. I brought up my 11th grader here on the podcast as you continue to listen to Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 67. It's a MeiGray NBA primer for the 25-26 season, and he's a big card guy. And with the cards come the swatches, and not all
Right.
collectors dig what happens there. And
Mhm.
I've been outspoken with my friends too. However, you control what you can control in this lovely life of ours. That said, MeiGray not only works with partner teams, Mike, but also trading card companies. Talk to me a little bit about the process getting jerseys. And does that change when you work with a card company versus when you work with the NBA clubs?
As far as the authentication goes, it's still the same. Whether a person is getting a LeBron jersey in total to hang up on a wall, or frame it like a museum piece, or I'm getting player XYZ that's going to get cut up into little swatches and cards. You know, both collectors cards and game worn, they want to know if it's legitimate. They want to know if
Right.
it's real, and as far as my process goes, it's the exact same. You're still photo matching, we're still video matching, we're still, proving the authenticity. As far as like procurement goes, that's the card companies deals is to procure those jerseys
Right.
and get them to us for authentication. And also, once we're authenticating the jerseys, it's their job to put the correct swatches in the correct cards and give that assurance to the customer that what they're getting is what they're saying. But as far as what we do and authenticating, it's the same process.
You're
Whether
still burning the midnight oil. You're still doing all of your
yeah,
gosh darn homework as much as possible. Just like, it's basically the trading card companies are a client, just
hmm
like collectors are clients. Here's what we found. Here's what we know. Here's what we did. What you do with it, whether you keep the jersey intact, like
hmm
Scott L. in Maryland, who ordered a LeBron, or this or that. I'm going to put this in a acrylic box frame, shadow box, whatever.
right,
And if it's card company, generic card company, and they want to hack it to death, they're still going to get the same level of service from MeiGray, the same top-notch peace of mind because of the process. That's basically it. What they do with it after it goes out of your hands, you know, that's it. But you guys
right,
are on top of it
yeah.
always.
And value wise, we've seen what cards can go for. So
Yes,
it's not cutting up a jersey. Even though the logic, especially someone who's situated in game worn,
of course.
I might not. It might be something hard to grasp. A full jersey being as worth the same as a little swatch
Hmm.
with a photo next to it in the card, but the cards have real value, and the collectors really care about this stuff. So it's not necessarily devaluing the product. There's money to
Yes,
be had there.
yes. There's
So,
it's
you want the
universally.
authenticity to stand for both because the work's the same, and the values, can be similar as well.
As we like to say, it's a universe with many, many truths,
Right.
and they're all true. You mentioned at the top that not only do you do NBA, but you also work with MeiGray's WNBA teams, Golden State
Right.
Valkyries, the champion Las Vegas Aces, with their just stack of players. Asia
Right.
Wilson's really, really good at her
Yeah.
basketball job.
Yeah.
You've helped get that program started from an authentication standpoint. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on. Golden State's got an auction, MeiGray auctions, and there's an inaugural playoff set. There's nets. This is really, really cool stuff from the first year franchise or for
Right.
first year playoff. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's great working with the Valkyrie. being in the same building with our other partner, Golden State Warriors, we were really excited to jump on this expansion franchise. Something that MeiGray's done in the past with its hockey programs. Kind of building something from the ground up. It's been nice working with the Valkyrie there. Um, you know, we definitely at the beginning of the season we're not expecting the level of success that the Valkyrie had. Expansion franchises coming in, especially in the W. It hasn't been a storied history. But them making the playoffs in their first season is tremendous, and we've been able to capitalize on. We did earlier this summer. We did their first inaugural win in franchise history. We did an auction there, very successful. The numbers that we received in that auction really, gave notice to a lot of people in the collecting world. And now we have the inaugural playoff home game set up. And unfortunately, they did lose that series,
Hmm.
but when it comes to for a collector standpoint, inaugural is the first. There's no second
There's only
inaugural.
one first. Exactly.
It is we talk about moments. That's the moment right there. So there isn't going to be a set like this again
Talking to
for
Mike
this
LeBoeuf,
franchise.
NBA
So
Program Associate Authenticator over at MeiGray. It's the NBA's primer issue episode, volume 67 from Tales of the Warehouse, MeiGray 2526 NBA program. There's excitement for that. This is where sort of people, I can't over-inform with regard to this. You have your partner clubs like the Warriors, like the Lakers, like the Valkyrie, like the Aces, and there's so much as far as inventory goes. But collectors in the NBA space trust you guys because you have contacts with other NBA collectors and a worldwide audience, much like the league itself. That leads me to those who consign lovely items from the NBA at MeiGray.com that you've authenticated. So it comes to you, you make them good as gold, and they're going to be even cooler for collectors now because they've been authenticated. What's available that you've noticed? You're like, yeah, maybe I'll eschew a vacation and look into this sort of thing. What's up at MeiGray.com as far as NBA goes?
well, with our consignments, we go through the same authentication process. Anything that comes in, and we're going to be putting up on our website for sale for customers. We do our due diligence with authentication to make sure everything's legitimate, even if it comes from legitimate team sources and other programs through other companies. We do our work and write our letter on it. Um, right now, I recently worked on a batch this past probably in the last 6 months of Knicks jerseys from sort of an interesting period of the team, the kind of mid 2010s to late 2010s, where Carmelo was the lead guy on that team, but there's a lot of kind of folk heroes. Your Tim Thomases, your Steve Novaks, your Ron Bakers, just guys who you know they never made the playoffs. They never won a playoff series. This wasn't a championship caliber team, but I think with the recent success of the Knicks franchise and the deep playoff runs, you still see these guys show up at the Garden and they get massive applause from the fans. These are guys that you almost appreciate more for dogging it out in those years,
Right.
in the trenches as opposed to the current superstars. And I think the same goes for collectors. There's niche cult guys that these guys really like. And me as a guy who works in authentication, not necessarily a big collector, but I get a kick out of working on these jerseys.
And you're a Knicks guy too at
Yes.
heart. So, you've got ties to Madison Square Garden. You've got historic, you've got memories. You've got historic nights spent watching games and watching those guys specifically. It's a very cool connection. All right, so let's bring it to the forward as we continue with Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 67, a 25-26 NBA MeiGray primer for the coming season, which is started by the time this releases, but it's going to be it's going to be quick, fast, and in a hurry. What are you most excited about with the coming season from a game-worn perspective?
Two things. I think there's, more on the competitive side, there's tremendous parity in the league. And I think you're seeing guys come and go in terms of value. I mean, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, for example, defending MVP,
Hmm.
defending champion. I mean, maybe you think 3 years ago, even though he was still playing in the league, he was a productive player. You just didn't know that that was going to skyrocket the way it did. And going into the season, especially in the Eastern Conference, a lot of those premier franchises, Boston, Indiana last year, you know, these star guys have suffered catastrophic Achilles
Yeah.
injuries, and you really don't know who's going to step up this year. Yeah, it's a very crowded field. It's a very open field. And from a collector standpoint, you just don't know if, you know, your team that, kind of hovering on the bubble is going to make that leap. And this is going to be their year to make a championship run. And so, you know, getting in early and collecting and seeing what comes of it it's exciting.
Sales at MeiGray.com is how you do it. We could have LeBron with perhaps a last year in Los Angeles. We don't know. It's the dawn of Cooper in Dallas. You got any number of player milestones upcoming, and the NBA does such a good job, much like the NHL does, with alts and new styles and whatnot. The Lakers purple statement, I hear, is buzzworthy, Mike.
Right. Yeah, new font. It's that same purple that we've come to know the Lakers, purple and gold,
Mm-hmm.
but they did change up the font a little bit. I think it pops. I think it really looks nice.
Very, very cool. Speaking of styles, there's some you get your hands on a lot of fabric. You get to look at a lot of different styles. Are there some that stick with you that have come out since Nike took over for the NBA product?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I took over, um, that was just when they started doing the Nike, the transition to Nike, and Nike started, publishing city editions and classic editions on a pretty regular basis. The city edition has been a thing that's recycled in New Jersey every year. So I've really liked what Golden State has done. Not to not to favorite one of our partners, but I feel like they get it more than anyone in terms of you know, they always seem to have a classic edition out. They always seem to have a really unique city edition out, and they wear them a ton.
Mm-hmm.
Some teams, they'll wear their classic very sparingly for specific matchups, maybe some television games. Golden State is a team where they wear their cities and their classics almost as much as their regular associations and icons. And it gives us more of an opportunity to get these shirts, and they just in that I love seeing some of their styles.
Do you like some of the other classics, like the Cavaliers, the Sixers, the Grizzlies? There's going to be sort of a new, air quotes, classic from even Minnesota and the Dallas Mavericks. Got some thoughts on those?
Right. Yeah. I was taking a look at some of them today. The Cleveland and the Philly one especially excite me because that's kind of the turn of the century look. You're seeing, in terms of fashion and sports, I think you're seeing kind of a shift in what vintage is from like maybe like the 80s and 90s to more turn of the century, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant era.
Sure.
And these Cavaliers jerseys, that was kind of the mid 2000s. That's what LeBron was kind of taking off. And, it's kind of hard to think that people who were growing up in that era are now at the age of having the capital to collect that style. So I feel like the NBA is really getting in on, you know, where peak nostalgia is at the moment. And I feel like it's around that era of basketball. And I feel like especially that classic black Sixers style is really, scratching a
And it's
2000,
right,
2001
and
itch.
and it coincides with, of course, the product returning to the NBC family too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh yeah, that's right. It's back there. This is going to be unbelievable." Is there a
Yeah.
throwback style? And this is a conversation that we have at every hockey expo that I attend. Is there a throwback style from a team that you'd like to see, or you're like somebody's? They're not. You don't want to be detrimental in your speech,
Mhm.
but you're like, they're getting it wrong. Do this era, please, so and so organization. Is there somebody that you'd like to, is there a team that you'd like to see bring back another throwback style?
Yeah, I'd like to see what. I mean, all eyes on Oklahoma City right now. and what they can do as the former Seattle Supersonics, not necessarily maybe putting the building up there and the needle up there, but maybe that color scheme, that green and gold, and maybe infusing that element into maybe a throwback with some of the Thunder logoing in it. I think that would look really cool.
All right, let's get out the LeBoeuf crystal ball. You got projections for the MeiGray program partner teams this season?
Yeah, I think they're both going to make the playoffs. I think they're both built to make the playoffs. If I had to pick a team that I would think most likely to make the finals out of the two, I would probably go with the Lakers. I think new fit Luka and
Right.
LeBron. I think that LeBron more than anybody wants to make this work this year. We don't know if it's going to be his last year. And so he's got his son on the team still. They've made the big acquisition this year. They brought in some decent bench pieces. I think this is a better, more rounded squad than last year's. So I think if they make it, and if they're healthy, of course, that they can really make a run in the West. It's a very crowded West, but you never know what's going to happen over the course of 82 games in terms of injury and momentum. So, I do like the Lakers' chances this year in making a run.
I think it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think ESPN.com had a piece in the not too recent past stating Golden State's going to actually make the finals, and who knows what can happen there. I found it interesting, and they sort of simulated the whole season, and this is what they came up with. So if that happens, sales at MeiGray.com.
Yeah.
You want to be partnering up with the partner teams. Who do you think it wins it all this season? You mentioned that the Lakers do have a decent chance because of fit Luka. I'd be interested to see if anything happens in like sort of like is Luka going to have a new taper to his jerseys? What are the tags going to look like from this year to last? And I know that's
size. If there's a size difference, maybe.
It's going to be whatever racked or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think Oklahoma's got enough? Or I mean, last year they looked just so wonderful, and as you mentioned, there's so much uncertainty with teams in the East losing absolute anchors as far as key cogs and the Eastern powers. They can't be what we expect them to be, not without Tatum. And not without from the Pacers. I should have drawn a total blank, Mike. Tyrese Halliburton. Thank you. That was a brain freeze. But who do you think would win it all?
Oklahoma City. The one thing that we had against Oklahoma City was that they hadn't done it before.
Right now,
and there's nothing scarier than a team that coulda, shoulda, and then did it, and now they have that championship pedigree. With that same up and I would still say the roster is up and coming, despite it already, it's there, and that's scary throughout the league. Denver, I think, made some interesting retooling around Jokic this year. They added more shooting, out of the East. The Knicks, maybe, hopefully, we'll see.
I know.
I don't want to speak too soon on that, but they certainly have the starting five in the roster that could potentially, with a new coach this year, push them over the top. Orlando, as an up and coming team, they've started to add, and I think that they could be the surprise finalist out of the Eastern Conference this year.
And they've been buzzworthy for a couple of hot minutes. It's Tales from the Warehouse, Volume 67, a 25-26 NBA primer, courtesy of MeiGray, MeiGray.com, sales at MeiGray.com. If you want to email Mike with any questions, please feel free. M. LeBoeuf, that's MLEBOEUF at MeiGray.com. Mike, let's go into overtime. And the ball is tipped, and there we are. I'm not going to sing Luther. Some say the best sports month because of March Madness. Because of that sort of March, April, you get March Madness coming to a close. First week in April, you get the Masters. Baseball comes back. People love March because of the tournament. People love April because of that. You got the NFL draft right there in the mix as well. Others adore January because of the NFL playoffs. I've always loved October. because it's the return of the NBA, the return of the NHL, and the NHL is now, weeks in already. The NFL is kicking in. College football is starting its stretch run, and we have the Fall Classic. I've always voted October. You got a best sports month on the calendar?
I actually in October's great. I'm a big Masters guy, so the beginning of April with
Mhm.
March Madness and the Masters kind of coinciding in that, that window is wonderful. I think September, to add another one, is great because you have that stretch run in baseball,
Sure.
and you also have the beginning of both college football and the NFL football season. And as sport fans know, the best time in the season is the beginning because anything is possible. You can go 17-0. You have Super Bowl aspirations. I love sitting down watching Red Zone week 1, just not knowing who any of these teams are. You
Right.
know, I did so this weekend, and I knew that what the Jets were going to put up. I knew what the Raiders were going to put up. But week 1,
And combined, put up
Justin Fields could be, it could be Nick Foles for the Eagles. You never know. Justin Fields could be the next, great New York success story. So I love September just for the start of football, and again, baseball, the divisional chases and different, stuff like that.
I totally understand. Again, there are cases to be made for many, many, many months, and find something and stick to it. NBA going live and going awesome and going swimmingly well over at MeiGray.com. Check out the partner club offerings. Check out the stuff on consignment. Check out the ongoing auctions, whether it be from the W or the things that continue to pop up. Really nice items from NBA partners and other teams alike. So just have a blast. Mike, wishing you a great season. We'll check in as events warrant. Again, LeBoeuf at MeiGray.com. For Mike, I'm Scott. Until next time, the warehouse is closed.